In 2004, McDonald's locations in Kentucky became the epicenter of a chilling hoax that exploited employees' trust and authority. When pranksters posing as police officers issued bizarre and increasingly alarming instructions, the results were extremely disturbing. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. In this video, we will delve into a nightmarish story that unfolded in Mount Washington, Kentucky. A story that began with an innocent high school senior and ended in a shocking twist of deception and horror. But before we dive in, some of the details in this story are disturbing and may not be suitable for all audiences, so viewer discretion is strongly advised. As always, remember to hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications to stay up to date with our uploads. Alright, let's dive into the video. April 9th, 2004. It was a day like any other at the local McDonald's. Louise Ogborn, an 18-year-old high school senior, was working her shift. She was known to be a model employee, a church-going former Girl Scout who had never once been reprimanded in her 4 months at the job. But then the phone rang. On the other end was a man calling himself Officer Scott. He claimed an employee had been accused of stealing a purse. The description he gave matched Louise perfectly. Louise could either be searched at the store or be arrested. She had taken this $6.35 an hour job to help her mother, who had lost her own job. Stealing was not in her nature. What happened next would leave an entire community in shock and raised questions about trust, power, and the dark depths of human manipulation. Donna Jean Summers, an assistant manager, had never known Louise to be dishonest. Yet following Officer Scott's orders, she led Louise to the restaurant's small office, locked the door, and followed the caller's chilling instructions. Donna ordered Louise to remove her clothing, one item at a time, until she was completely naked. Donna later said that Officer Scott sounded authentic. He claimed to have McDonald's corporate on the line, as well as the store manager whose name he mentioned. Donna even thought she could hear police radios in the background. It was just after 5 p.m., and for Louise Ogborn, hours of degradation and abuse were just beginning. But what was truly terrifying was that she wasn't the first victim of this twisted scam. This kind of call was initially reported in 1995 near Devil's Lake, North Dakota. Another emerged later that year in Fallon, Nevada. The caller, always pretending to be a police officer investigating a crime, targeted small towns and rural communities. Most of the victims were young, inexperienced workers in fast food restaurants. The scam was sinister and hard to believe, preying on the trust and naivety of these small-town employees. At first, nobody believed the store managers when they claimed they were following orders from someone they believed to be a police officer. But the shocking truth behind these disturbing incidents began to unravel. In one case, a Burger King manager in Fargo, North Dakota, insisted he thought it was a police officer who had instructed him to slap a 17-year-old employee on her naked butt. The judge, unable to comprehend the manager's actions, sentenced him to 30 days in jail for disorderly conduct. Restaurant owners and the police initially believed that the victims and the caller were working together in a bizarre scam to embezzle money. But as the hoaxes continued, it soon became clear that something far more sinister was at play. In one chilling incident, the caller convinced a manager to undress in front of a customer, claiming the customer was suspected of sex offenses. The manager believed that undercover officers would burst in and make an arrest. The truth behind these horrifying calls was far more sinister than anyone could have imagined. The victims, innocent employees caught in a web of manipulation, were left traumatized and scarred. On May 29, 2002, a young girl just starting her first day on the job fell victim to the caller's sadistic demands. She was forced to strip, jog naked, and assume embarrassing poses, all under the direction of the anonymous caller. On January 26, 2003, at an Applebee's Bar and Grill, an assistant manager conducted a degrading 90-minute search of a waitress. The caller claimed to be a regional manager, despite calling collect. Shockingly, the assistant manager had read a company memo warning about hoax calls just a month earlier, but claimed to have forgotten about it. On June 3, 2003, at a Taco Bell in Juneau, Alaska, a caller deceived the manager into believing he was investigating drug abuse. The manager selected a 14-year-old customer and subjected her to stripping and performing lewd acts. Employees in Kentucky were blindsided by these horrifying calls. They claimed they were never warned about the existence of such hoax calls, leaving them vulnerable to the manipulative tactics used by the caller. By April 2004, the caller had targeted at least 68 stores in 32 states, including Kentucky and Indiana. The victims spanned across a dozen restaurant chains. Unbelievably, managers of 17 McDonald's stores had fallen prey to the caller's deceit. The consequences were devastating, with the company already defending itself in multiple lawsuits stemming from these heinous hoaxes. Despite the company sending out memos about the hoaxes, none of the employees at the McDonald's in Mount Washington, Kentucky, were aware of the danger that awaited them. The fact that word of the hoaxes was not getting to the waitstaff was admitted by Michael Peaster, the director of worldwide security. Unaware of the danger, Donna Summers, with 8 months of experience at the McDonald's, followed the caller's instructions, believing he was a police officer. As Louise desperately tried to plead her case and maintain her modesty, Donna obediently followed the caller's orders, taking Louise's clothes to her car. Donna questioned why the police were taking so long to arrive, especially since the police department was less than a mile away. But the caller always had an answer for her doubts. Kim Dockery, who was another assistant manager, offered comfort and support to Louise. Meanwhile, Jason Bradley, a cook, refused to comply with the caller's demands to describe Louise and remove her apron. However, neither Kim nor Jason called the police or demanded that the search be stopped. The manipulation and control exerted by the caller had its victims trapped in a terrifying web. Fear, confusion, and the belief that they were following the instructions of a police officer kept them from taking action to protect Louise Ogborn. As the disturbing incident at the McDonald's in Mount Washington, Kentucky, continued to unfold, Louise Ogborn found herself trapped and frightened. Her car keys had been taken away, leaving her feeling helpless and vulnerable. Louise's fear was understandable. The manipulation and coercive tactics employed by the caller had left her believing that she couldn't leave. Donna Jean Summers, searching for a solution, told the caller she had to get back to the counter. After that, the caller wanted to know if she had a spouse who could look after Louise. The caller instructed Summers to bring in her fiancé, and at around 6 p.m., she called Walter West Nix Jr., asking for his help. The chilling manipulation and control exerted by the caller continued to tighten its grip, exploiting the authority figures in the restaurant. Psychological experts explain that humans have a natural tendency to obey orders, even if those orders seem morally wrong or evil. This unsettling reality was demonstrated in one of the most infamous psychological experiments of the 20th century. In the 1960s, Stanley Milgram, a Yale University psychologist, conducted the Milgram experiment. Participants were instructed to administer electric shocks to a student whenever they made a mistake, with the voltage increasing each time. Despite the apparent pain and distress of the student, many participants continued to deliver shocks, simply because an authority figure in a white lab coat urged them to do so. This experiment demonstrated the alarming power of authority and how it can override our natural instincts to resist harmful actions. In Milgram's experiment, nearly 2/3 of the subjects were willing to deliver what they believed were paralyzing jolts to a protesting victim simply because an authority figure, the man in the white coat, commanded them to do so. Milgram observed that with numbing regularity, even good people would succumb to the demands of authority and perform callous and severe actions. The disturbing truth is that when faced with authority figures, individuals often relinquish their own moral compass, allowing obedience to override their sense of right and wrong. In the case of the strip search hoaxes, the manipulation and control exerted by the caller exploited this psychological phenomenon. The victims found themselves trapped in a web of deception, blindly following the caller's instructions under the guise of authority. The strip search hoaxes serve as a chilling reminder of the fine line between obedience and morality. They highlight the profound impact that authority figures can have on our actions and decisions. Real quick, if you are enjoying the video so far, please take a second to hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications. Now let's continue to uncover the harrowing events that unfolded during the strip search hoax. Walter Wes Nix Jr., a 42-year-old father of two and an exterminator by trade, was described as an upstanding member of the community. Walter was handed the phone by Donna and was informed by the caller that he was a detective. Over the next 2 hours, Walter followed the caller's instructions without any questions or pushback. Walter, under the caller's command, stripped Louise of the apron, leaving her naked once again. He proceeded to describe her to the caller. The caller ordered Walter to make Louise perform various physical activities, including dancing with her arms above her head and doing jumping jacks. Walter was instructed to make her sit on his lap and kiss him, claiming it was necessary to detect any substances on her breath. Each time Donna briefly left the office, Walter would hand Louise the apron to cover herself, following the caller's orders. And when Donna returned, the cycle of abuse would continue. The unfolding events reveal the deep manipulation and control that the caller had over the situation, exploiting the vulnerability of the victims involved. Louise's fear was palpable, as she found herself at the mercy of a man who significantly outweighed her by 145 pounds and towered over her by nearly a foot. Workers across the country who had conversations with the hoax caller described him as unusually persuasive. He had mastered the calm yet authoritative demeanor of a police officer, skillfully incorporating law enforcement jargon into every conversation. It was as if he played the role of a powerful figure, exerting control over his unsuspecting victims. The caller went to great lengths to enhance his credibility. He researched the names of regional managers and local police officers in advance, mentioning them by name during the calls to further manipulate his victims. In a disturbing display of his thorough preparation, he somehow acquired names and descriptions of victims in advance, allowing him to accurately describe them during the calls. Donna attested that the caller, posing as Officer Scott, knew intricate details about Louise, including the color of her hair, her height and weight, which was approximately 90 pounds. He even detailed the tie she wore. At first, detectives across the country believed the caller must have been observing the stores from a distance with binoculars. But later, officials would come to realize that he was simply a master of deception and manipulation. The caller, displaying a disturbing understanding of human psychology, told the crying victim to be a good actress and pretend like it doesn't bother you. He aimed to alleviate the manager's guilt and make the situation more manageable. Alan Mathis, like many others, felt as if the caller had an uncanny ability to observe their actions, intensifying the pressure they felt to comply. Alan, despite not wanting to participate, found himself caught up in the caller's web of manipulation. Because of this, he spent 40 days in jail before being acquitted of rape and kidnapping charges. The caller's success rate varied, as phone records indicate that he would often call multiple stores before finding one where managers would take the bait. Zimbardo, a renowned psychologist known for the prison experiment, described the caller as a skilled, confident man who had mastered the art of manipulation. The attorney for Alan Mathis, the Hardee's manager, referred to the caller as a freak who plays God, highlighting the disturbing power he held over his victims. Before we close out this video, I would like to briefly cover the legal aftermath of this whole ordeal. The details are as follows. McDonald's fired Donna Summers. Walter Nix was arrested and found guilty of 3 felony charges. Donna was also charged with a misdemeanor crime. She entered a plea deal in the case. Police suspected David Stewart, a Florida security guard, of making the hoax calls. He was charged in the incident, but was soon acquitted of all charges. The caller's true identity is still unknown to this day. McDonald's were very much aware of the hoax calls that had been coming into their restaurants, but corporate managers nonetheless decided against warning restaurant management or employees of the calls. Louise Ogborn filed a lawsuit against McDonald's, Donna Summers, and Kim Dockery. McDonald's filed a third-party lawsuit against Walter Nix. Donna filed a complaint against McDonald's. The restaurant then filed a complaint against David Stewart, but the suit against David was dropped immediately upon his acquittal. Despite suing McDonald's for $200 million, Louise was awarded $1.1 million in compensatory damages and $5 million in punitive damages in her lawsuit against McDonald's. Donna would also sue for $50 million and won her lawsuit against the restaurant, pocketing $100,000 in compensatory damages and $1 million in punitive damages. If you have made it this far, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video and want to see more, then check out these videos on the screen now. If you have a topic suggestion, please send it to the email in the description. And as always, remember to like, comment, share the video, and subscribe to our channel. I will see you all in the next one.